right, thanks for staying with us. We continue the discussion on the fuel shortage crisis that, and a lot has happened around that since the start of the bulletin. A bit earlier on, we had Petroleum PS Andrew Kamau, and he remains with us for this discussion. But we also want to hear from other stakeholders in the sector. Joining us virtually will be Simon Kimutai, the chair of the Matatu Owners Association. Whilst here in studio, we have Martin Chomba. He's the chair of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. And we also have Kwame Owino, and you can see them there, the CEO of the Institute of Economic Affairs, just to lend their voice to this situation which has affected the whole country. PS, I'll allow you to speak, but first let me get some initial thoughts from some of my other guests, and thank you for having and having that staying here with us, gentlemen. Martin, let me start with you. Let me get your take on this. From where you sit as the chair of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya.
Okay, thank you, Maura, for having me. As Petroleum Outlets Association, we the people that are organized to take care of the business out there in terms of rural business, in terms of we run the rural economy, where you have people that are running the borders, the centers, where the multinationals are not able to get to. So essentially, we learn the market that we call, it is upward of 40%, and we are the non-franchised. So in our thoughts, how we got there is that when the government started the oil subsidy way back in April last year, there's a component in the pricing structure that was there that is no longer there, and that component was forced by the dynamics around the pricing. So it's called the wholesale cap. Where, because most of us, for lack of a better word, scavengers in the industry, we go to get a product from the multinationals. When they import the product, there is this that they sell to us. We've not grown the muscles to make sure that we import our own fuel, because, as you know, it's highly capitalized. As such, so when this wholesale cap was removed by the government in a bid to subsidize the public, then it left the independent or the non-franchised exposed to the exploitation, so to speak, for lack of a better word. The reason I'm saying this is because...
Exploitation by who? The oil marketers?
It would be, they would not do that willingly, but dynamics of business will cost them to exploit us. Let me explain.
I've never heard of an unwilling exploiter.
Let me tell you, because
most are willing.
What happens?
Yes.
What happens is that the EPRA will tell us this is the pump price, but we are expected to sell like everybody else, but we have not been told at how much we are buying. So you see, the oil marketer is at liberty to sell to us at whatever price they want.
And this is because the cap was removed? Because
the cap is not there.
And this was linked with the subsidy that came in, and we'll get more from PS on the same.
We were made to understand it's part of the negotiations around the subsidy.
Kwame, there's a thread you did on Twitter that's done the rounds. I can give you a minute to explain. You seem to give a reason as to why we find ourselves here today.
Yep.
And it slightly differs from what PS has been telling us today. Go ahead.
Well, I don't think that it differs, because I heard him and what he said. Well, okay, let me say. My summary is that for a long time, we've had the algorithm or the formula from the EPRA, and we don't call it price controls, but that's what exactly it is. Because what it's saying is what the margin for each of the people in the value chain should be, and obviously it then calculates. So as Martin has just confirmed, if one part of that wholesale price is taken out and the prices are rising globally, obviously if you cap and one person is taking most of the margin, it leaves the smaller traders with less to take home. But what it's telling me is that a price control mechanism, we call it price management, but a price control mechanism is unraveling. And why is it unraveling? Because there are many things that the government of Kenya cannot control about the price of fuel. If it is imported, we have fuel prices rising globally. It was rising before the crisis in Ukraine because of the invasion. It's become worse because the Kenya shilling has also been depreciating. So the government of Kenya came up with a policy which is basically to actually cushion through what is called the reserve fund, right, which is supposed to be. There's no money in it, based on some of the declarations that had been made to the public sector. I mean, to the parliament, general. Yes, and all that. There was no money in it. So government could not compensate dealers on time, because he told them, you go ahead, sell, don't sell above this, and we'll compensate you for that differential. So because government has had a problem with cash and the supplementary budget did not come in on time, there was pressure on everybody in the value chain. Because if you're selling at a certain level, say 130 or whatever, 136, but the real price of the fuel is about 140, or I mean, much more than that, then it means every time you sell a liter, before government pays you, you're actually losing money. That's just the truth. So it's put, and because this is a high capital intensive industry, so if you do not have float or you don't have money, definitely it affects your ability to roll out and to operate. So that's basically part of it. My view, our view at the Institute of Economic Affairs, is the shocks that have come from global crisis, political and economic, is telling us that the price control mechanism is not working. We can continue to play around with it by calling it reserve and everything else, but if the reserve doesn't have money, we have 37 billion today, most of which has been claimed. In another 6 months or so, we'll be back here.
And we'll be hearing from Simon Kimutai, the chair of the Matatu Owners Association, shortly. But Piers, I can give you a chance to immediately respond to what has been said on this hand. The price control mechanism, is it working? Do we need to relook at it again? Maybe that's where I'd like to begin with you.
You know, it's as if Kwame and I were in a discussion early, because we've agreed on exactly how it started. And this is what we were saying, that if you're a small player, you don't have the cash flow, and you don't have bank relationships, you're definitely going to struggle. The major players have the banking relationship. They can ride out the cycle until they get paid. That's exactly what you and I spoke about earlier.
Well, I guess the question then would be, if government could see this crisis, because I believe part of the reason why taxpayers pay your office is to forecast. Why could government not see that this crisis was happening? Russia, Ukraine, if there is some link with that, is going on. It started 2-3 months ago, and then put measures in place to ensure that we don't get to this crisis where the president has to sign a supplementary budget almost in a hurry to get us out of this.
Actually, the supplementary budget is late. It was not in a hurry. It was debated in Parliament more than 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not in a hurry. That's the first thing. The second thing you have to understand, the government cannot spend taxpayer money without budget. So even if you have money in the bank, if you do not have a budget allocated to you, you cannot spend that money. So that is why, and budget making is the prerogative of Parliament. So we present what we think will be what we're going to spend to Parliament through the Ministry, through the National Treasury. They then approve that budget, and now we can spend the supplementary. That's exactly how government works.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question on the back of that is this. You have been in meetings since yesterday with oil marketers trying to figure out how do we get out of here. One wonders, couldn't the forecasting power of government have seen this scenario a month ago, 2 weeks ago, held those meetings already to ensure that we don't get to this point?
You know, Wahiga, you're the second person to tell me I've been in meetings all day with oil marketing companies. I haven't.
It's a normal day for you?
It's a normal day for me.
Well, it's not for many Kenyans.
Yeah, but what we're doing is, because don't forget, these people are in business. The longer they keep their fuel there, the less cash flow they have. They have to make sure that this product they have in tank gets to the marketers.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Do we have Simon Kimutai on the line? Simon Kimutai, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah. I can hear you, Maura.
Great. What's been the impact on your sector of this
I can hear you very
crisis?
well.
Go ahead.
Well, Maura, you've already played some clips showing how frustrated public transporters in this country are because of fuel shortages. And we wonder why this has to happen, or why it had to happen. I've had very interesting stories from the PS, and he's trying to evade and give us stories cycle going round and round. I would want to ask the PS, why did this have to happen? You don't blame the small people who do not have big capitals. Pay them their subsidy so they can be able to restock their stocks. Public transport operators are incurring lots of losses because of not being able to give their services to the people. And we have invested in units, and we are the biggest consumers of oil and its products. Now, one vehicle can consume between 50 and 60 liters of fuel per day. And when this, misses, we can see the kind of situation we are taking ourselves to. When we hear of people now being told to pay double the fares, it's because the market forces is dictating. And not only that, maybe somebody has queued for 2 days. Now, how will he cover up for the past day that he's been queuing? They'll definitely put their fares up. So it's hurting everybody. And we've had companies which have put their vehicles out of the road. There are people who rely on these jobs to put bread on their tables. So it's devastating. It's affecting us, as people who are facilitating movements. And it will be felt later by the government, because when people don't go to work, they will not pay taxes. People going to industries, what will happen? It will eventually be felt by the government. And I want to say the government is squarely to blame for this. Because if they saw this coming, why didn't they tackle it that time? And, the stories of subsidies. Why do we pay taxes first and then later on be given subsidies? Why can the taxes equivalent to subsidies be put aside? And then we wouldn't be having this waiting for marketing companies to be compensated by the government before giving us more fuel, sufficient fuel in the gas stations. You will see, everywhere. It's not only those clips that you've shown.
Okay.
There are other places where they have completely dry. Yes.
Kimutai, thank you. You've asked some questions. I need to take a break, but Pierce, do you want to respond now?
I do, very much so.
Go ahead, then we'll take that break.
It's a brilliant question. Why do you pay the subsidies first and then get it back later? Now, don't forget
and why do we have so many taxes on our oil?
That's a whole other story.
You have
let's deal with what we have now. The Petroleum Development Levy was increased in 2020. In June 2020, it came into operation. 2020. And we collected 5 shillings per litre on that one until April last year. You are now getting, instead of 5 shillings, today you are getting 20 shillings back from the cushion. So we collected almost for 1 year so that we can pay you back whatever the difference would be. If we said we were not going to collect that 5 shillings from June last year, today you would be paying 154 shillings per litre because the government would not have that optionality. The tax gives you that optionality. If you want to cushion Kenyans, at least you have a kitty to do it. And that's exactly why. It's like an insurance policy. Why do you pay insurance? It's a grudge purchase. We all don't like paying insurance, but we have to.
So if you reduced the tax on our fuel gets to the port, and I know Kwame would know better, 70 shillings or so. By the time it gets to my car, 135, 140 shillings, 50, 60 shillings on top. If you reduce those taxes, wouldn't oil marketers be able to get their money, no need for a subsidy?
Okay, no problem.
And we'd have a way forward on this?
It's a very simple thing. Where you come from, Maura, what you do, you call your local MP and say, that tarmac road you wanted to build us? We don't want it anymore. Please reduce my tax. That free school fees that is there for free primary school, free secondary, I'm okay.
Aren't you passing the buck, Pierce?
No. We were just talking about it when we were sitting in there. We were saying there are certain regimes that have low tax. And I lived in one of them. But you must have private healthcare. You must have your own pension plan. You must have everything private. There are no government schools. There are no government universities. There are no government hospitals. But you pay 7%. And there are other regimes where you pay effective tax of 60%, but there are no private universities.
So the extra 60 shillings on top is for our development, whether we see it or not?
You do see it. It's up to you as a citizen of Kenya to go through the Auditor General's report, number one. Number two, because our constitution in budget making allows for public participation, please attend the public participation sessions. Mm-hmm. This is your right as a citizen. You should do it so that you ask questions at that stage. But unfortunately, most of us either don't know what the Constitution says or are not interested in public participation.
P.S., I still have 2 more questions to ask you, but I do need to take that break, and I need to allow Kwame and Martin to weigh in as well. Let's take that short break. We come back. I hear from my panelists. I know you've got lots of questions you're asking. 22423 is our SMS line. # Monday Report. Still have P.S. Andrew Kamau here with us in studio. Martin Chomba, the chair of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. We have Kwame Owino, the CEO of Institute of Economic Affairs, and joining us remotely, Simon Kimutai, chair, Matatu Owners Association. We'll be right back with much more.
Enjoy fast speeds on the lightest gaming app in Kenya. Download app yetu on shabiki.com ili enjoy the best gaming experience at your convenience. Customize your game. Kuwa Shabiki. Strictly not for persons under the age of 18. Betting can be addictive. Play responsibly. Shabiki.com is authorized and regulated by the BCLB. License number 305. Shabiki.com.
Are you looking for the perfect card that complements your lifestyle? A card that helps you to pay conveniently at millions of merchants located in over 200 countries? NCBA Bank offers a suite of Visa cards just for you. Access a wide range of benefits with NCBA Visa card, debit or prepaid card, and enjoy quick, easy and secure payments. Pay with your NCBA Visa card when making online payments, fueling, dining and shopping as you go cashless. Visit your nearest NCBA branch to apply for your Visa card. Go for it. NCBA.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نستغفر الله نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم العفو. Kupata uradi wa Ramadhan, bonyeza *811 *271#.
We're not dealing with a problem here. I mean, come on. I'm only going to get married to Fernanda.
Me, Kamsi, I will succeed. You will hear my story, and I'll turn my story to glory.
Huwezi kosa stock. Kopa asubuhi, lipa jioni. Pia, unaweza tumia akiba yako kupata mikopo ya kukuza biashara. Tembelea tawi lako la Cobank leo.
Furaha katika maisha ya mwanadamu hupatikana pindi anapokuwa karibu na Mola wake, na utulivu katika moyo wake hupatikana anapomkumbuka Mola wake. Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala bainisha katika kitabu chake, asema ala bidhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub, kwa hakika kule mwanadamu kumkumbuka Mola wake humpatia utulivu katika moyo wake. Unapojaribu kuwa karibu na Mola wako, kuna mambo manne huwa ni vizuizi yanayokufanya usiwe karibu na Mola wako: sheitani, nafsi yako, marafiki wabaya na kupenda dunia na tamaa ya dunia. Ungana nami katika nuru ya Ramadhani ili upate kufahamu kwa undani vipi mambo haya manne humshawishi mwanadamu.
Sasa, umehakikisha SIM card yako imesajiliwa sawasawa kulingana na mwongozo wa Communications Authority. Kamilisha usajili wa SIM card yako ili laini yako isifungwe. Tembelea duka ya Safaricom, dealer au agent iliyo karibu nawe ukiwa na kitambulisho. Pia, wahudumu wa Safaricom watakupiga picha kwa usalama zaidi. Mwisho, utatia sahihi yako ili kukamilisha usajili. Tembelea duka ya Safaricom, dealer au agent, ukamilisha usajili wa laini yako.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari. inspiring, especially for your little brother. And now I can watch him follow his dreams.
You've been searching for a solution for your stubborn dark marks. So have we. Nivea Lumina 630. With breakthrough patented ingredient Lumina 630 visibly reduces stubborn dark marks accumulated over 10 years in 4 weeks. Nivea Lumina 630. Our ultimate solution for even and luminous skin.
Kazi ni kazi. Yelele mama.
Kiambu tunaweza kushika na mikono. Tusonge mbele.
Pamoja tusonge.
Chini hadi kileleni. Na wene na watango. Oh, oh. Tunaweza, tunaweza.
Hello, my name is Engineer Patrick Wanena Jango, current Member of Parliament, Thika Town. I am vying for Kiambu Governor's seat. I humbly request for your vote during the upcoming nominations for UDA. Thank you and God bless you.
Ukiangalia chuma ya dosi, oro section ya kawaida. Kama ni 1 by 1, ni 1 by 1.
Dosi is the definition of steel.
James ni doshi mwenyewe sasa.
Doshi Steel. Chuma ya nguvu.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. We continue to seek to understand the fuel crisis, and I have the right people in studio to help us understand that. Let me immediately pick a thought from Martin Chomba. He's the chair of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. Martin, what are the demands of oil marketers today? I think in this panel, you're the best person to help us understand that.
Okay. As a person who really worked closely with the oil marketers, I'll tell you the demand they have expressed to us is that most of them are afraid they are not able to bring in as much fuel as they would. This is informed primarily by the fact that their money, the remittance of their money takes time, and as such, going for the credit, as it were, as PS alluded earlier, most of them do not have those instant ways of collecting funds to go for fuel out there. So as such, they have brought in less product than what we would expect. So the thought that I was going through with, you asked me a question, what I think precipitated the crisis that we have right now. As I was telling you, we serve the upward of 40% of the market, the whole industry. So we have about 3,000 petrol stations across the country and fuel points. We have about 13 who are a member, 1,300 who are a member, 500 of which have had to close in the last 1 month or so. The reason why they have closed is that when we were left exposed by that removal of price cap, most of these multinational, when the geopolitics started to happen, and these guys, there was panic shocks in the market. So the multinationals, in the fear of whether they'll get subsidy or not, most of them now started selling to us at prices that are equivalent to pump prices. So I go to the oil depot in Nairobi, and the pump price there is 135, and the guys at the depot want to sell to me at 135. They sell to me at 115 diesel, and that is what I'm supposed to go sell, because if I don't sell at that price, then I'm at loggerheads with the law, because EPRA has said that I have to sell this. So it became not tenable. Why? Because if I buy at 115 diesel and I transport and I have overheads and I expect to make something from it, then I'm locked out of business and I cannot increase my prices. So I told you earlier that we serve the rural and the rural outskirts of this country, where the multinational network are not able to get clearly. So what happens is that when I close my stations in the rural area, then the customers I was serving, they will now go to the next town. If I come from Kirinyaga, for example, I come from a village called Kangaita in Kirinyaga. If the fuel in Kangaita, the fuel point in Kangaita do not have fuel, so the guys will have to go to Kerugoya town. That's where there is Total. So all the guys from the rural areas within Kirinyaga will converge at Total. They will put pressure on that petrol station, Total petrol station and Shell petrol station, to an extent that it becomes untenable to even serve them, leave alone now providing the much needed product. So to alleviate the problem that we have right now, we have to get it right. And the way we get it right is that we must make sure that these non-franchised petrol stations are adequately facilitated to have product so that they can continue serving the people they were serving, and they will not have the alternative. They will not have to go to the urban centers to go for this product, because it is.
Do you want to be able to import your own oil now?
We would want to be able to import our own oils, and actually as an organization we formed 3 years ago. We have formed, I told you the product is highly capitalized. The whole system of importation is highly capitalized, and as independent dealers we don't have the financial muscles. So what we have been doing is to try and organize ourselves. I like giving credit where credit is due. The office of the PS has even allocated as an allege where we can try and import our own product. They have been working with us. EPRA has also been trying to facilitate us with licenses, requisite to facilitate importation. But we don't have that kind of money to do importation. And you know the economic status we are in right now, the requirements of the banks and all that. So what we've done recently is that we have come up with a SACCO, and it's called POAC SACCO. We got our certificate about 2 weeks ago, where all our members are able to coalesce funds, and we'll be able to now leverage on ways and means of how we can work around importation so that we can alleviate this scavenger kind of a business atmosphere that we operate in, where most of the times we are operating at the masses of the multinational. This time round, most of the times people have been saying that there is a concerted effort by multinationals to try and get us out of the market. I want to allay that fear. That what is happening is not a concerted effort by the multinational. We understand where they are, but what we are saying is that there's a gap in the pricing cycle where we are exposed to that level of where they cannot give us the price at the margins that they should be there. So if we are to get out of the situation we are in right now, what I prescribe as a guy from the grassroots out there is that we have to get to a place whereby we facilitate these non-franchised petrol stations. They get sufficient fuel so that we ease the pressure from the rural to urban centers, and that now will serve us.
You think that will make a difference?
If we don't do that, as we continue fueling the urban centers, these lines that you're seeing and the chaotic scenes are not going to go away anytime.
So you don't read any sabotage?
I honestly don't read any sabotage by the multinationals. What I read is the exposure, that lacuna that was left in that pricing. It has been exploited, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah. Kwame, I asked, and I know you want to weigh in on this as well. I asked PS earlier who should be held responsible for this. And he said, that's not the discussion for now. For now, let's find a way forward. And I said, well, hopefully the way forward will involve finding out who's responsible so that we don't find ourselves here again. Yep. From where you sit, who should Kenyans be looking at?
Look, starting from what Martin has said, what we have here is a distortion that comes from the fact that this is the same product. You control prices at one side, right? And then you shift one price on the other side, and then it has the effect that Martin has spoken about. So if you take out the retail price cap, which means that whoever it is, the big dealer, can only sell at 135, and you still force Martin to adhere to 135. So your fuel is available, but it's not available at 135. What plain economics is telling you is your price cap mechanism is wrong. So that's what's unraveling. So who's responsible for it? I think it's the law that tells you that you need to capture it at a certain amount. So the idea that you could control a product that comes from external sources and is subject to very many different variables, the prices and everything else, is just telling us that collectively, if we ever lied to ourselves that price controls give us cheaper fuel, the laws of economics are telling us, guys, we were wrong. So whoever did the analysis that supported the law that the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority is enforcing, and the Ministry of Energy has no choice but to enforce, the guy was wrong. So unfortunately, again, it comes down to Parliament, the politicians, and the executive who signed that bill.
That's your reading of it?
That's it, because the price is unraveling.
Kimutai, has blamed the government. That's where he says the buck stops.
Well, government is both the executive and parliament, yes.
So for you, parliament, but him, the executive. Kimutai, come in. I know you've been quiet. I can give you a chance to weigh in before PS speaks. You had his response to your question.
Yeah, I did so, and our interest here is to have the pumps discharging fuel into our motor vehicles. There's so much stories, and I think there is an answer to these stories. And if we go only talking stories and not acting, then it shows we will not be able to come out of this hole. What is for us is that we need to have the fuel. We are the ones who are spinning the economy. So it's them to play their part. Well, it's not good to blame, but somehow there is a reason for this to have happened. When you hear the PS, he says, these are small people whose the business is capital intense, then why don't you almost immediately give them the compensation on the subsidies? Now, when we delay is when we see this. We'd rather have oil or petrol or that is available, even if the prices are a bit high. Because in business doing, we'll always pass the cost to the right person. The person either who's using the service or the person who's getting the goods. So, for us to be able to discharge our responsibility as transporters in transporting human beings, it's only important that this product is available. When it is not there, we can't get returns from our investments, and what will happen is this will now encourage black market. People hoard fuel, sell it to an individual. They'll start selling them in tins, in various corners, and some siphoning and selling them. Then it will escalate and we'll not be able to have control on it. What is important now is the government to step in and make sure that it stabilizes and give those marketeers, give them the marketers, give them their subsidies so that they can be able to, streamline. For now, I think you hear even border borders who are buying their fuel, people who are carrying jerrycans. Everybody will go and buy a drum and sell it on the side. Very dangerous. It can easily explode in the houses. So they have to move in and make sure that this thing is streamlined. If the monies have been discharged, as the PSA, they paid 8 billion. Let them pay the total amount for the market to stabilize. Otherwise, Mwananchi will feel the pain, because when we are doing business, we will always pass the cost to the consumer of the service, which is not going to reflect very well. So it's important that they take necessary actions to be able to alleviate this. Otherwise, I'm telling you, to be honest, people now, you'll be getting people with jerrycans selling oil and its products in the streets or anywhere, the alleys, in the streets of either the city or wherever they could be. So it's very important that they step in quickly. We need also to get returns when we are doing our businesses, because the government does not transport, and yet we are doing a very important job for them. We are making the economy grow. So it is important that they either think if they cannot be paying subsidies on time, let them reduce the taxes. That is in lieu of the subsidy that would have been provided. Yes.
Kimutai, that's your question. Let's hear from the PS now. And PS, one of the questions that our viewers is asking this evening is as follows. If I can just actually maybe just read for you directly. This viewer is asking this evening, if the government had paid the oil marketers on time, aren't the oil marketers surely justified for complaining? And even the statement that they recently released stating that they see challenges in them providing services if they're not paid on time. And I think many keep coming back to why weren't they paid on time? Help Kenyans understand that.
So how does the subsidy work? What happens is that at the end of the pricing period, so it's from the 10th of the previous month to the 9th of the current month.
Just before the 14th.
Yeah, so you take all those cargoes, you then calculate the price that they have paid, and that is what the price is adjusted. You then take who imported during that period, what is the volume they imported. You then try and figure out, okay, so there was EPRA have a number, Kenya Pipeline have a number, and KRA have a number. So you collate all those numbers to make sure that they are auditable. You then pay the money. I mean, it goes through the normal process of requesting exchequer, and then you pay the money. That process, you'll be surprised, takes about a month to get done from the time the new prices are there. And this is exactly what Martin is saying, and what Kwame has said. That 1 month lag is what's causing the problem. Now, don't forget, we've been stabilizing the prices since April last year. The oil prices have been reasonably low compared to where they are now. And so people have been able to meet through their normal cash flows. Yeah? But now with $130 a barrel last month, this is what has caused the problem. Yeah? And I agree. If it had been paid earlier, maybe we would not have had this problem. If we had not reached $130 a barrel, maybe we would not have reached this problem. But there's no way to foresee some of these things. There's no way anybody would have thought that all the sanctions that have been put on Russia and the war with Ukraine would have created such a violent change in price. Usually, if you look through the last 50 years of price hikes, even with the invasion of Iraq, the spike lasted for 2 days, and then it was back to normal. It's amazing that it has lasted 6 weeks.
So, bearing in mind that the invasion happened last month or the previous month, there was no forecast from you. You did not foresee this at all?
No, we did not.
You were, I guess, as surprised as the ordinary Kenyan with...
No, we were surprised as everybody else in the world. Like I've told you, there is nothing special going on in Kenya. Everybody is feeling the same pain around the world. Everybody.
I guess the question is, what solutions are various governments putting in place?
Exactly. And we are lucky.
Shield their people.
And we are lucky we've shelled out 53 billion shillings to Kenyans to cushion their price. The price in Kenya, despite people saying, bei inapanda kila siku, the price in Kenya has changed 3 times in 1 year. Once it went up in September, and it's gone down twice. Before, I think it was in May, and then it went down again in October. 3 times price change in 1 year. But the narrative never changes. Prices of fuel are always going up. That is the narrative in Kenya. It is not true.
If we wake up tomorrow or next week, next month, we're at 140 a barrel, do we have another crisis? Can we foresee that? Can we discuss that?
And this is what we're discussing with the independent marketers on Wednesday. How can we help them? How do we help you access funding? These are the things that we're going to be discussing with them on Wednesday.
Okay, that's what the meeting will entail.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break, come back, get final thoughts from my guests, take a few questions from you as our viewers this evening, and then we wrap this up, really trying to understand what's happening. Also text us, let us know where you're writing in from, what's been the situation like for you today. 2242 is the SMS line, hashtag Monday Report. We still have all the right players here in studio to help us understand this. PS Petroleum, still here with us, the chair of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, still here with us, the chair of the Matatu Owners Association, and the CEO of the Institute of Economic Affairs. The right men to help us understand how we got here today. We'll be right back.